Hey guys, it's your girl Corporate Carolyn, and I am taking a break from my work since I haven't left the house yet today because I wanted to share something with a commenter that wrote in about, what kind of advice could I give her, even though she's in computer science and would like to make the switch to technical writing. I think that is a wonderful area to springboard from because I think I may have mentioned this before, but my degree is in computer information systems, which back in the 80s was really computer science light, so I did have a lot of the heavy duty technical courses that computer science majors might, but I just didn't have the technical chops to actually, do a whole lot of coding. So I was so thankful for an opportunity to jump ship and do something more in line with my interests, because initially I wanted to be a journalist, but the starting salaries weren't what they were for engineers and really technical people. So I did something for the money, which by the time I got to my 50s, I was really hating life in the corporate settings that I found myself in, because it just wasn't being true to what my natural abilities, proclivities, my natural bend, whatever you want to call it. I'm a better technical writer than I ever was of, like, say, a systems analyst, a business analyst, a software engineer. I'm better as a technical writer. So for that person who's talking about, computer science and also content development, if that really is your specialty, I think technical writing is the best thing for you. So the question was, what should I do? And for any of you that are listening, regardless of what area you're in, this is something that I think holds true, whether or not you're in computer science. But if you're not already on LinkedIn, I think you should be. You need a profile, and then if you really, really and truly want to be a technical writer, this is what I did. I looked at all of the accomplishments that I had at work and things that I actually worked on, like, say, as a business analyst, namely in telecom. I wrote a lot of high-level design documents, or they were also called like business requirements. And I also worked with the more development side of the house, writing the functional design specs or the system requirements. And in most large companies, those equate to deliverables that need to be written. And typically they're written by business analysts. But I'm not, like I said, technical enough to be a true, really, really good business analyst. So I would just navigate myself towards, I'll do the deliverable for you, I'll write the documents for you, you need release notes, let me do those. And so what I did, I sifted through the many years, and my resume is really long. It's at least 8 or 9 pages, and so I try to do a summary paragraph at the beginning that listed all of the deliverables that I had participated in and the types of things that I had done. And it's interesting that I wound up getting a job as a technical editor at the last full-time employment job that I had, because the person reading it saw that I had done an interface control document. That was way back in the day, so I was just throwing anything in but the kitchen sink in order to say, oh yeah, I worked on this too, I worked on that. And so just to get someone's attention, and that was enough to get her to take a chance on me, because some of the documents, very few actually, that we were editing wound up being interface control documents. So I would say, if you're not already on LinkedIn, get out there. If you already are on LinkedIn, I would say get a summary paragraph that can show or speak to any written deliverables that you've produced. And then I was able to just stop calling myself a business analyst, because no one really wanted me as a business analyst, especially after I had stayed out of the workforce for at least 3 or 4 years. So I literally had to reinvent myself as a technical writer. And so once I pulled out enough instances where I can say, hey, I wrote this, I wrote that, and then I had references that would back me up and say, yeah, she did write write, procedures, guide, a guide for systems administrators or whatever. I had the proof, and that was the main thing that I spoke to in my revised resume. So get that out on LinkedIn. If you're not sure what types of things you should be saying, look at some examples of other people that you know that are in the industry or in the type of technical writing that you want to be in. And so, getting certifications in technical writing, to me personally, but remember, you're speaking to an old dog who doesn't want to learn new tricks. I don't have any certifications, nor do I really want any unless someone is interested in paying me more money in order to get it. And I don't have a PMP. I never wanted one. When I was at Sprint, they were trying to push me towards that, and my reviews all spoke to me doing that, but I resisted and I wound up leaving ultimately. So certifications or technical writing certification, that would be great if it's something that you want to do, if you have an opportunity, if it's not that costly for you to do. But I would say 99% of the jobs that I see, and I'm looking at my phone right now because I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Career Builder, on Dice.com, and Monster as well. A lot of the notifications that I get about jobs, like I'm looking at one right now for a technical writer in New Jersey, and this is probably one of the ones from my nightmare because they have the nerve to want someone with an a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering or mechanical engineering. Are they crazy? Why would anybody? But I guess if I would have gotten my electrical engineering degree from Clemson University back in the 80s, I would probably now be trying to switch from double E to technical writing. So I guess I get it. But if you look at the majority of these job descriptions, they don't mention a certification in technical writing. For the few that do, if you have enough experience and in the industry that they're interested in, a lot of them, that's not even a deal breaker. And that's a question that I ask people as I'm looking at the job description. If it's something that I'm interested in that I try to pursue, I'll say, well, say I have A through D of what you're asking, but I see you have, L and a P. I don't have those. Are they deal breakers? And then that opens up the conversation, but be transparent and let people know. But what I'm saying is, as I'm looking through this, and it has everything but the kitchen sink. I don't know if you can see it, but looking at what you see in these job descriptions, kind of hold off on getting anything too specific, because depending on who's sending you the job description, it could be all over the place. So you could be saying, well, I can't be a technical writer. They want someone who's a double E person. Not everybody. Just because one job description might mention proposal writing. Should you go out and take a class, or course in proposal writing? Not necessarily, unless that's something you want to do. And like here, I see they're talking about the SDLC, which I happen to have, fortunately, the system development life cycle. That's a big buzzword that you definitely want on your profile on LinkedIn or on your resume. I mentioned my resume for a reason, and that it was so long. If you want to shorten yours, a lot of people say shorten it. I haven't had to, praise the Lord, because I really don't feel like it. But if you want to shorten yours, just pick out the key items that speak to you reinventing yourself as a hardcore technical writer and go with that. This particular job description mentions the DDLC. Do I know what that is? No, have no idea. They talk about Microsoft tools. I think that that's one thing you definitely should have, and you may not need to take a course. You may just need to be able to use it at home or at work. And the only extent that people have asked me is, are you proficient with Microsoft? And so by that, they're obviously meaning Word. Some cases they mean Excel. A lot don't. I'm not that savvy in Excel. I can use it, but I'm not an expert. Same thing with Visio. I can use it, but I'm not an expert. So if someone said, well, give me, on a scale of 1 to 10, your proficiency, I would probably say my proficiency with Visio is at a 5, because I can look at examples or look at an actual diagram and maybe tweak it and turn it into something new. But can I start from scratch, especially with swim lanes? No, I cannot. And a lot of times you don't have to, so just know that your skill set is based on the job description you're looking at, because this one goes on to talk about XML tools to create documentation. Have I ever used that? No. And I had 2 job offers before I took this, and none of them in technical writing needed me to have the XML tools. So would I take a course in that or recommend that? No, not unless you have an interest, or unless you have someone that's offering you a job and you can say, hey, I was thinking about taking this course. Would that make me more of a candidate? Do it for a reason. Don't just do it because some people might look and say, oh, okay, and do you have this other list of things that they want? Because everybody wants something different. And so like this one is talking about white papers. The company that I'm working with right now, white papers are a thing, but for all of the other companies that I interviewed with before this, they didn't even speak of white papers. So just take it all with a grain of salt. I'm looking at some of the other things that they're mentioning. Develop content in alternative media forms. Do I recommend that you go out and learn how to do some of the online tools that they have? Only if you have an interest, because if I look at another one now, it doesn't even speak to that. Let's see, and there is a good thing that I have so many. So being on the sites, that I mentioned is a good thing. Here's one. A technical writer is hybrid, is long-term, and some of the things that they're mentioning, they want change management and a communications professional, who can support product or projects that deal with change management tactics. Have I ever heard that before? Are any other job descriptions specific to that? No. So it seems like there's something out there for everybody. This one talks about developing and sending communications for UAT, user acceptance testing, and deployment applications. Again, it's very specific to this requirement. Most people aren't even working with UAT, or even development. So it really depends. So all of this to say, I'm looking to see, this one talks about conducting training sessions and UAT sessions for end users, presenting the project status. I would say that maybe 30% of the jobs that I see that are sent to me courtesy of being, on these job boards or sites, speak to the things that I named there. So all of that to say, you don't have to go back to college necessarily. You don't have to be certified. You don't have to drive yourself crazy getting all of this specific experience unless you have an interest and unless that's something that you definitely want to do. For me, I just try to keep a blank slate. Like I said, gather everything that I've done that, makes me a credible technical writer. Get that in my profile, get that in my resume as cleanly, as succinctly as I can say that. And then just look for buzzwords where you can fit in, and then start applying to jobs where you have at least 50% of what they're saying. And then if you wind up talking to somebody, be clear and transparent about what you don't have, any deficits, and how like there's some things that you haven't had the opportunity to do them, but you have a strong interest. I'm sure this is very intuitive. I can figure it out. You really need to be resourceful and kind of like a chameleon, find an industry that you want to be in. One of the ones that I didn't pull up spoke about being a clinician technical writer. I had never heard of it or knew that it was a thing, but like say if you have a specific industry's experience, that might be one of the ones that you apply to. Like say if it is telecom or secondary mortgage finance or whatever, or if it's medical, those might be areas where people will overlook your shortcomings and say, hey, I've worked in this industry for 30 years and here's some of the deliverables I've produced. And then like they might overlook some of the laundry list that they have where you might have a third, and then they'll say, oh, well, we'll waive the 70%. It's really not that serious anyway. And there have been some people that I've talked to, like for this job, if I had submitted my resume for this technical writing opportunity, not only would my boss not have looked at it twice, he never would have looked at it the first time unless someone that I worked on a previous project here hadn't said, hey, what you really need is somebody who writes well and who has good people skill. That's the only reason I'm doing this job. I don't meet 90% of what's required. So my main advice is go through your resume, go through your experience, come out with the things that you can use, no matter how short it is, that can say that you are a technical writer and that you're ready to switch in that industry. And until you find something, I would say stay where you are and volunteer for opportunities to get more technical writing skills or deliverable names that you can drop under your belt. And then hopefully somebody will take a chance on you at that point. But that's all I have for now. I spoke longer than I wanted to. Sorry about that, but I hope that answers the question. What should you do? Go through your resume, find everything that you can list that qualifies you as a technical writer. Look at some of the examples that you might see online. Pull out the buzzwords, like I said, the SDLC. That's something that people love to hear if you're in the IT arena. Any like public trust, if you have a clearance, all of that stuff, list that in your description at the beginning of your profile or on your resume. And I think that should be enough to get you started, but you definitely want to be out there. You want to be looking at your phone like I am right now, looking at possible jobs that you could apply to. And even if you can't apply to them, it helps you to know how you need to change your resume. So hopefully that helps. If you have any more questions, be sure to let me know and I'll try to answer them more quickly than I did for this one. But until the next time, you guys have a great one and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.